Hi team, it's Gina Brooks and welcome back to our series. Our series is called Get Fit to Lead, Leadership Series. And if you recall, last week I did the first session. And today I'm welcoming my dear friend, boss, colleague, Michelle Ingalls Silva. And if you don't know her, if you're outside of Produce and you don't know her, she's our current operations director. And she used to hold the position of human resources director. And at one time, she was even an instructor and other positions here at Produce. She's done it all. So I'm thrilled to have her because you got to get sick of me. And I wanted to show you a fresh face that's experienced in all of this, super emotionally intelligent and smart. And I'm thrilled to have her. Michelle, take it over.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. Okay, so thank you for the introduction. I have decided to go ahead and do the second series in the Get Fit to Lead series that Gina Brooks has created. And like Gina said, she asked me to do the series and we are friends, so I wanted to help her out. But more importantly, she is the HR director. So if you're smart, you never make the HR director mad. So I'm doing this for personal excitement as well as fulfilling my obligation. So the HR director keeps my paycheck the same and helps me out when I need her. So today we are going to talk about emotional intelligence. And what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to define what emotional intelligence is, because in order to understand it, I just think we all need to be on the same page with the definition. And then we're going to talk about why do we even care about this topic? Why is it important personally and professionally? And in the emotional intelligence model, there are 5 competencies. So we are going to address those today. And then I'm also just going to talk about some tips on how to develop those competencies. And we have a lot of information to get through in a short amount of time. So I'm just going to jump right in. So one of the things to define what emotional intelligence is to talk about what it is not. And it gets kind of, emotional intelligence gets a bad rap because some people think it's just being soft or being touchy-feely or caving in or counseling. And that's not really what it's all about. And just wanted to give you a funny clip to show you what emotional intelligence is not.
Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay. And I pity any girl who isn't me today. La 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 la. I feel charming, oh so charming. It's alarming how charming I feel.
Okay, so don't worry today, emotional intelligence, we're not going to make you talk about your feelings or sing your feelings or make you that uncomfortable. Today, we're going to just give you some tips on how to become more emotionally intelligent. So we know what emotional intelligence doesn't look like. So what is it? This is an actual official definition. And emotional intelligence is the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and emotions and those of others. So having empathy, motivating ourselves, having initiative, and managing our emotions, self-regulation, managing our emotions well in ourselves and our relationships. So that was the definition from Daniel Goleman. And that's the definition we're going to use today when we talk about emotional intelligence. So we're all kind of on the same page. So this is what it is. And then the next question, of course, is why do we even care? Why do we think that this is one of the elements of being fit to lead? And here are some of the reasons why emotional intelligence, knowledge, and development is important. First of all, in a workplace setting, emotionally intelligent people show increased team performance. I like the one up there at the top. If you're emotionally intelligent and you deal with things properly, it decreases your occupational stress and your personal stress. Emotionally intelligent people make smart decisions based on facts rather than emotion. In the workplace, emotionally intelligent people tend to stick around. And if you have a workforce that is emotionally intelligent, it makes people want to stay and not leave, so that it reduces the staff turnover. Emotional intelligence increases your personal well-being, and most importantly, fitting into the theme of today, emotionally intelligent people have an increased leadership capacity. So it is an important concept, and it helps you thrive as a leader and in your professional and personal life as well. So the easy part's over. Like, we've explored what emotional intelligence is and why we even care. So now let's get down to the meat of what we want to talk about. There are 5 different emotional competencies in the emotional intelligence model, and they are self-regulation, self-awareness, self-motivation, social awareness, and social skills. So these are the 5 elements about which we are going to talk today. And the exciting part is last week, Gina did a series on self-reflection. And so she's actually already covered this portion of emotional intelligence, because this portion has to do with self-awareness. And last week, if you just remember Gina's PowerPoint and training, these were some of the things that she had talked about as far as being self-reflective, being self-aware. She gave us some tips on how to become more self-reflective through the decision-making journal, mindful meditation, and empathy mapping. And I think she already did a really great job in defining that. So that allows us to kind of just skip on to the next emotional intelligent competency, which is called self-regulation. See that little arrow trick I did there? I did that to amuse myself. So self-regulation is basically self-control, and it's the awareness of your own emotions and your limits. And it's your ability to adapt to situations. And we are going to talk more in depth on these three elements of self-regulation. And it's also focusing on, control issues and letting go of some of the things that some of your expectations and things that you might think should happen. And when they don't, what do you do to regulate your response? So self-control is basically being able to manage disruptive emotions and impulses. And when you're a 52-year-old woman like myself, you might want to think about, well, of course I have self-control. And most often I do, but I could say that maybe on the road, when someone cuts in front of me, I might lose a little self-control. Sometimes my children make me lose self-control. So even though it's something I'm working on, it is a difficult concept sometimes. In your brain, it makes sense, but sometimes that doesn't always work the way you want. And one of the things about self-control is we have a limbic system in our brains, and that is the part of your brain that controls emotions. And a highly intelligent, emotionally intelligent person can control the situation, but once in a while, your brain basically gets hijacked through emotions or impulses, and your response is not self-regulation. Looks something like this.
Sir, we have a policy on this airline that if a bag is this large,
Okay.
Oopsie.
Little paws off of my bag, okay? It's not like I have a bomb in here. It's not like I want to blow up the plane.
Sir.
I just want to stow my bag according to your safety regulations.
Sir.
Hey,
Sir.
if you would take a second and take a little sticks out of your head, clean out your ears, and maybe you would see that I'm a person who has feelings, and all I have to do is do what I want to do, and all I want to do is hold on to my bag and not listen to you. And the only way that I would ever let go of my bag would be if you came over here right now and tried to pry it from my dead, lifeless fingers, okay? If you can get it from my kung fu.
Okay, so let's just all be on the same page that we did not show self-regulation or self-control in the situation. And if you've ever seen that movie, there's some back issues on how he lost his luggage in the first place, and that's why he's reacting that way. So self-regulation is a lot about understanding, what makes you act the way you do, and how can you develop and improve your self-regulation? So there are a few tips that I ran across when I was researching, and I want to just talk about those and give you some research and information. The first one is to try to create an environment of control. And when I read that, I think, well, that's a no-brainer, but easier said than done, right? Because some things are just simply out of your control. But there are some situations that you create that may cause you more chaos and stress than they need to. So some of the ways to take control of your situation and improve your self-regulation is number one, it says change some of your demands and expectations into preferences to make them less emotionally powerful. Now, when I read that, I read it once and I thought, well, what does that mean? And then I kind of figured it out. So I'm going to give you one of my personal examples. When I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was maybe 1 month pregnant. In my mind, I had to have the baby nursery set up by the time I was 3 months pregnant. I don't know why, but in my mind, I had to do it, and I pushed myself, and I was trying to get the crib up and the curtains, and I was basically just stressing myself out and creating a environment in which I was always stressed out. I was yelling at my husband because he wasn't working fast enough. And that was one of those situations where I had set up some expectations that didn't matter because I didn't have to have my nursery set up by the time I was 3 months pregnant. Maybe by the time I came home with the baby and had to put the baby somewhere. So sometimes you might set up demands and expectations in your life that are purely your own demands and expectations, and no one's even expecting you to meet those. And those are causing emotionally powerful situations where you start getting stressed out and reacting negatively. So focus on those types of things. Remove yourself from the bad stuff, right? Negative self-talk, stress. It says use your mental remote control. So I really like this. And so I'm going to give you another personal example. About 7 years ago, my mom passed away. And in my mind, I had to go through all her stuff and give it away or, donate it. And in my mind, I had a year-long time frame. I just made that up arbitrarily, go back to point A. And every time I would open a box of my mom's stuff, I would cry and I would get stressed out and it'd be bad memory and a bad situation. And so finally I just talked to some other people and they're like, well, why do you have to do it right now? And I said, well, I don't really know why I have to do it right now. And so I finally just came to this conclusion that I needed to put my mom's stuff on hold with my mental remote control. So I just pretty much put everything back in the box. I stored the boxes. I've learned that, after 7 years, I can now open a box and get rid of the stuff and not cause so much chaos. So I'm kind of creating a situation where I can control my own reactions and create a situation where it's not as mentally stressful for me now. The other way you can take control and avoid negative self-regulation habits is just to plan for and avoid chaos. And I can tell you every single morning in my house, trying to get my 2 daughters ready for school is total chaos. I have a 9-year-old who's very disorganized. And so every day for the first week of school, we were looking for her shoes in the morning, the matching pair. We were packing her lunch. She was looking for a mask on the way out the door. We were late. We were yelling. Our self-regulation went completely out the window. We were crying. We were yelling. So it dawned on me, actually, as I was doing this PowerPoint, that, hey, Michelle, maybe you should just plan for that chaos and avoid it. So it seems like a logical thing to do, but now the night before we have the mask, we have our clothes picked out, we have to have the mask that matches her clothes, we have our shoes ready. So sometimes you're creating situations where you're going to react negatively, but there's situations that you could stop or change to begin with. So that's the first tip. Just take control of things that you can take control of and make them less stressful so you have a better positive reaction. You have to know how to create balance between your personal life and work. And I am very bad at this, but you have to know your limits. And you have to know when to say no. Sometimes you can't do everything. And if you don't want to be stressed out and have negative reactions, sometimes you just have to say no. And I'd like to model myself after this little guy here who has no problem saying no to anybody or anything.
Did you have a good Christmas?
No.
Do you love your mommy?
No.
Do you love your daddy?
No, no, no.
Do you love your Uncle Jalen?
No.
Do you love your grandparents?
No, no, no.
Do you want $1 million?
No, no.
Do you love your Duppy?
No, no.
Do you
No,
want to
no.
go night-night?
No, no.
Do you love bath time?
No, no.
Okay, so if we could all just be able to say no. Sometimes I take on activities that I don't need to do. I volunteer at the school for things. And what it does is just creates these unmanageable, chaotic situations. And instead of doing something great to help out the school, I end up yelling at my kids because I'm stressed that I'm doing it. So know your balance, know what you can and can't do, and know your own triggers and your limits to create better response to situations. And my favorite one too is just to reframe. And this is really hard to do, but there's always those people where they're like, well, one door closes, another one opens. And that's annoying when they say it, but seriously, you have to try to reframe negative situations as opportunities. If you do get fired, maybe there was a better opportunity out there for you. And again, this is a skill I have to work on, but I think it helps in the way that you react to situations. The other thing that they talked about was very interesting is in the research, it said take responsibility. So basically it's telling you that you're in control of your response, right? So when you looked at the gentleman on the airplane, he was in control of the way he was acting. He could have slowed himself down and stopped, but he had some back issues that caused that particular reaction. But basically, your brain is programmed to associate meaning with events, and it's your job to identify and break destructive patterns. And I think Gina gave a really good example last week when she was talking about her reaction to her husband's outbreaks of when he got stressed out, he would yell and carry on in the other room. And at first she went in and confronted him, and then she changed her method. And she basically just responded differently to those outbreaks, which caused a better situation. So learn what your triggers are, learn what your mental filters are. I have this situation where if some people can tell me what to do and I will listen and say thank you. And other people, depending on the baggage that I have with them, they'll tell me the exact same thing. And I'll say, well, you can't tell me what to do. So know why you're reacting, understand. It goes back a little bit more to the self-reflection that Gina was talking about. Why do I react negatively in this situation? And how could I fix it or change it? Also, you have a choice on how to respond, right? So they always say no one can make you feel a certain way. So instead of saying you are making me mad, you can say I feel mad. You own it, and then you take responsibility in the way that you're reacting. The last thing that we talk about is just a way to relieve stress so you don't get to the point where you're reacting negatively to something really small that probably doesn't need a negative reaction. But what are your stress busters? Is it breathing and meditating? I don't know why, but when I get really stressed, I like to chew bubble gum and pop bubbles. So that's a weird one. But what works for you? Counting to 10. sometimes works, right? And I talked about my two daughters, and that's one of them who's 14 now, and that's the other one who's 9. And sometimes when you have kids, especially, counting to 10 doesn't really work, right? If I just counted to 10, I would have an emotional breakdown pretty much every time. So I've learned to count to 100. That's my stress buster. So basically, you have control of how you respond, and you need to figure out ways that you can calm yourself down, control your situation, self-regulate, so you have a better outcome and respond more positively. So the next one, so we talked about self-awareness. Gina already kind of did that, and self-regulation, how to control yourself. Next, we're going to talk about self-motivation, which is the third component of the emotional intelligence model. Self-motivation has to do with achievement, initiative, optimism, tenacity. How do you get yourself moving? How do you motivate yourself? One of the things they talk about in the research under this particular component is just the idea of always continuously improvement, or continuously improving, right? Lifelong learners, always trying to learn something new, do something better, fits into this self-motivation component. People that are emotionally intelligent don't stop, they don't stagnate, they move forward and learn more and different things. People that are emotionally intelligent and are seeking achievement also focus on creating SMART goals. And again, we've heard SMART, we've heard this many, many times, but making specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. That's how an emotionally intelligent person approaches their goals and their plans and their professional and personal development. Initiative. An emotionally intelligent person takes initiative, and I like this wording in the research. It's called planned happenstance. And this is basically the concept that you make your own luck, right? So sometimes people say, oh, I was just at the right place at the right time. And that probably is true. But when you are at the right place at the right time, are you ready? Emotionally intelligent people are ready. They have a degree. So when a job comes open, they can apply. They can be a candidate that is at the top of the list. Initiative, an emotionally intelligent person is being ready for something, anticipating events, anticipating challenges, being ready to address them, and focus planning. And not just planning, an emotionally intelligent person actually acts on something. We have a lot of people in our lives, you could probably think of them right now, who are very good talkers and have a lot of plans, but the people that act are the ones that are emotionally intelligent and successful. And I really like this, this quote I read, and I was thinking about it and I thought, oh my gosh, it's kind of true and scary, but it basically says most people spend more time planning their grocery shopping than designing their future. The basic difference between people who live their dreams and those who only dream about how they would live are the accuracy of their plans, their ability to generate new ideas, and their ability to take action. Emotionally intelligent people focus forward and take action to make things happen. Emotionally intelligent people have optimism and tenacity. Now, if you're a leader, think about how this connects, right? If you're an optimistic leader, then your team will also be positive. If you're tenacious as a leader, you can instill that in your employees and they will reach the goals that you have set for them. Persistence in pursuing goals despite your obstacles and setbacks is a key element of someone who is emotionally intelligent and has developed this self-motivation competency. And I have my own story about tenacity. It goes back to my high school years, and that was a really, really long time ago. But in high school, I wanted to be a cheerleader, and I really wanted to be one. And so I tried out my freshman year, and I got my rejection letter that said, you know, those nice letters that are like, everyone's a winner, but not you, one of those letters. And so this summer I stretched, I practiced, I went back in 10th grade, I tried out for cheerleading, and I still didn't get the cheerleading position. So I got my next rejection letter. And So I'm very tenacious, sometimes to a fault. So as a junior, I decided I would try out for cheerleading yet again. And I tried out, and I'm not very coordinated, so I don't know why I thought that would be a good idea. But again, I got my rejection letter. But of course, that didn't stop me, because when I want something, I pretty much just go for it. And so when I was a senior in high school, I tried out for cheerleading. And I'll just let you know that I actually made second alternate cheerleader. And I'm not going to talk about the fact that the people that had made the cheerleading squad, one of them broke their legs and one of them moved away and one of them got suspended from school. So my name kind of just kept moving up the list. But I was second cheerleader, alternate, and I got to cheer 2 times in my high school history. So yay for me. That's my optimism and tenacity story. But a true emotionally intelligent person doesn't give up on their goals, doesn't give up on their team, moves forward and focuses on making things happen and being positive in their journey. There is a lot of research online about how to become self-motivated, and there's some online resources where if you type in 13 key steps to become self-motivated, there's a really great research article on that. So you might, if you're interested in this component, you might just go and research a little bit, because it gives you some really, really great tips. All right, so we're off to a good start here and almost done. We've talked about self-awareness, we've talked about self-regulation, self-motivation. The next element we'll talk about is social awareness. Social awareness has to do with empathy. We have a saying, Gina and I have a saying, know enough to care, care enough to know, right? So know enough to care about people in your life, people with whom you work, but care enough to know what is important to them. So stepping inside someone else's shoes, very emotionally intelligent person has empathy for someone else, even though they've never maybe experienced the actual challenge that the other person's going through. Has to do with leveraging diversity and accepting other people's opinions, and understanding that, so being socially aware enough to know that your opinion isn't the only one out there, and that diversity exists and should be cherished and should be encouraged. Also focusing on what I like to call political awareness. And when I say political awareness, I'm not talking about like politics, Democratic, Republican, but this is when you walk into a group and you know how to read the group. You know the emotional currents, the power relationships. It's like when you get a new job, you better know the CEO's name. And if you meet that person, you better know how that there's a power relationship there, right? So being politically aware enough to read the room. So if you walk in and there's tension, why is that? Being aware of what's happening. There's some people that aren't aware of anything. They say something and everyone in the room's mad and they have no clue that they just made the complete group angry. So social awareness is being emotionally intelligent enough to understand, what's happening around you, understanding other people's feelings, and understanding that other people have opinions that matter also. Now, how do you improve your social awareness? So some people are really good at this and they're already emotionally intelligent in this component, and some people are not. So we'll give you some tips on how to make sure that you can improve that. Seek feedback from others on how they feel. And I know that one of the series one of the training sessions in this series is seeking feedback. So Gina will be giving you some good tips on this skill. Don't advise, command, control, criticize, judge, or lecture. And again, when I put these things on the screen, I think, well, that's a no-brainer. But how many people do you know do this and are not socially aware that they're even doing it? One of the ways to improve your social awareness is just to put people at ease, so they do talk to you and they do open up and show honest reactions and honest opinions and ideas. If you're walking into something new, like a new job or a new group, research the group a little bit before you go. So when you walk in, you'll know, like, who are the key players? What's the culture of this group? Sometimes you could do a little research to become more socially aware before you even experience the group. Develop a sixth sense. Again, the sixth sense is sometimes you just have a feeling for people or situations, or you just have this feeling you can't describe where it comes from or you don't know why, but sometimes it's good just to follow that. And a lot of times that has to do with your emotional intelligence in your social awareness component. Listen more than you talk, and you'll understand people in the room and be able to read the situation. And if you're not great at this, just be very mindful of some of these things. And the next time you walk into a situation, or even if you're on a Zoom call or in a new group, look around the room and try to notice things that maybe you haven't noticed before. Read the room, and it'll help you know how to respond, react, and contribute in that group. All right, so we're on the downhill stretch, and I know it's hard to listen to someone talk for a long period of time, but don't worry, it's almost over. So we've talked about self-awareness, self-regulation, self-motivation, social awareness. The last element of this emotional intelligence model is the element of social skills. Social skills is being able to talk to people effectively. It's being able to establish relationships. And I always call it playing nice, right? Emotionally intelligent people understand and respect other people. They play nice, they establish positive relationships, and they usually have a lot of friends and people that respect them. So that's a nice benefit and side effect of having good social skills and being emotionally intelligent in this component. Now, how do you do that? First of all, some people are really good at being social, and I'm not good at being social. Honestly, I could get up in front of 1,000 people and give a speech, but when I go to a new place or a party or something and someone comes up to me, I have a really hard time, like one-on-one, new social environments. But basically, you just have to practice being social. Sometimes I'll just walk up to someone and start a conversation, and it's very awkward for me, but I know that I need to practice. You can also do some professional training. There's a lot of online research. There's groups. I think it used to be called the Toastmasters. I don't even know if that exists anymore, where you would actually go and learn how to talk to people and give speeches and introduce yourself. So seek out some professional training if you're not really good at this. You're gonna have to step out of your comfort zone. And again, this is a really hard one to do, but sometimes I'll just go do something that I'm not really excited to do, like join a group or go up to a group of people and insert myself in the conversation. But once I get in there and I step out of my comfort zone a little bit, I start seeing some of my social skills coming out and getting developed. Seek mentors. Like I said, there are people that are really, really, really good at social skills and talking to others and networking. And sometimes I just watch those people and I learn tricks from them and try to figure out, what are they doing that maybe I could learn from, something they're doing that I can glean from. If you want to improve your social skills, you have to get involved. And if you sit at home by yourself all the time, you don't need social skills, but you're also not going to be an effective leader. You're not going to grow professionally or personally. So get involved. When I was the HR director, I was involved in the Society of Human Resource Management group, and it was a great experience. I was the board chair at one point, had to get up and network and talk to people, and I met a lot of great people and have a lot of professional development and good information from that group. So get involved in places where you have to talk and practice and jump out of your comfort zone. Also, part of creating the social skill element of emotional intelligence is just focusing on collaboration, right? If you're really good at social skills in this component of emotional intelligence, you'll be able to manage teams and create positive teams that are collaborative and that have a lot of synergy. So that's one of the elements of leadership where you need to probably develop the skill more. If you don't have it, practice it, get better at it. So basically, in summary, emotional intelligence is your ability to look within yourself and regulate your response. Be motivated, motivate those around you, be sociable, be aware of what's happening, why you respond one way or the other, how to get yourself motivated, how to feel empathy for others. And it's a lot of information that's really hard to do, but focus on these 5 areas that we talked about and maybe figure out the ones you're great at, which good for you. But if there's some elements where maybe you're not as good, focus on some of the tips I suggested so you could just improve all 5 elements of your emotional intelligence model. And the last thing I just want to always leave people with is when I go to a training, I always think, well, this is, really great information. But if I don't do something with the information, I tend to lose it. So before you click off the call or the training, I'm sorry, think about, what is one piece of information that you learned today that you will take and you will use today. And I think the one I'm going to focus on is just the social skills. So tomorrow I'm actually going to a networking luncheon, and I'm actually going to get up and talk to more people than I normally do. So you take your information. I thank you all for sitting in. If you ever have questions, feel free to email or call me. And I also thank Gina for inviting me to help her with her leadership training. Thank you. Have a good day.